Hey guys, and welcome to episode 10 of the Allmity Podcast. So, this episode we have Manan with us. Manan serves as the head of business development and public relations at MTTN, and this has been one of the most insightful podcasts I've shot so far in my 10 episode long career. So, just sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Allmity Podcast. Alright, guys, welcome to this multiple of 5 episode of the Almighty Podcast. We are on episode 10 right now. That's a big deal. I did not see this podcast coming up to 10 episodes. And to celebrate the 10th episode, we have with us Manan, who currently serves as the business development and product public relations head at MTTN Manipal. So Manan, over to you.
Hi, I'm Manan. I head business and PR for MTTN. We're Manipal's largest student-run media org. I'm a third-year mechatronics undergrad at MIT. Interested in product growth, startup tech, and stuff like that.
Basically,
thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and also co-hosting with me, I have Adit Luhadia. As usual, you guys know him if you are a regular viewer.
Okay.
So my first question to you, Manan, is, and I'm very curious about this. What does it take to run one of the biggest media bodies in Manipal? What does a normal day in the life of the BDPR head of MTTN look like?
So a normal day is pretty chill right now because so essentially what we do at BDPR is we take care of two things for MTTN. One is the PR part, as in we taking care of brand relations and your all events that are happening and the stuff that goes behind events, covering events, media coverage, stuff like that. And then there's the business part wherein we're thinking of ideas to generate revenue and stuff like that. So a normal day of the life of a BDPR head is pretty chill because it is all very dynamic. Work comes in and goes out very, very dynamically. There is nothing like a fixed routine, which is there in like student projects. So yeah, and I think the second part of your question where you ask what goes in running such a large media organization, I think it's the people that make an organization. As cliche as it sounds, it is the crew and the board that does it. So it is like it's an ecosystem that we've created, and it is such an ecosystem that has been developed and shaped over the past 10 years of MTTN that now it's everything just runs on autopilot. Everybody takes equal ownership in the organization. Everybody is doing their bit, and I think the organization just runs and prospers.
Yeah. So you told me that work comes in, work goes out very dynamically, right? Could you just elaborate on that part? Is it your job to bring the work in, or
no? So what happens is generally because we've been here for a long time. So when work essentially comes in, as in when we've had PR heads come to us, talk about their clubs, talk about collaborations. It's not just us, like we're not generating any leads, or we don't reach out per se unless there's something that we are looking for specifically. It's mostly all inbound. And when all inbound leads come, it comes either to me or my co-head Satvik. So both. So it just comes to us, and then we kind of figure out what to do. If you have to delegate, we delegate. If you have to do it ourselves, we take it up ourselves. If there's something more which is being done at some sort of scale, or needs longer duration and involvement from the crew, then we kind of charted out a plan with our subheads and try to understand what can be done. So yeah, I mean, we're not doing any sort of outgoing leads or outgoing calls per se to generate work. It's everything that happens is inbound, more or less.
All right. I'm pretty sure you're aware of this, right? That there are a lot of organizations in Manipal right now who deal in your arena, the media industry as per se. So there are a lot of organizations right now. So what makes MTTN consistently stand in the top 2 or the top 3, or like throughout time?
So like I said, a lot of factors, but primarily the crew, right? So the crew we've been lucky enough to get a lot of applicants every year to the crew. Like if I had to talk in numbers, this year we got around 600 applications across first and second years. And that's just, so MTTN has two sides essentially. It's us, the MIT side, and then this is a lesser known fact, and there is the health sciences side. So what happens is the MIT side consists of MIT and related colleges like SOC, DOC, and masters in management, stuff like that. And the health sciences side consists of the KMC, MCOPs, MCODs, and all the health sciences colleges. So only for the MIT, and each side has its own executive board and like proper crew structure. So only for us, like the MIT side, we've got like 600 applications this year.
Oh, wow.
And BDPR alone has got around 300, 350 applications. So out of the 600. So obviously there are people who are applying to multiple departments, but in specific, like if you count a number of applications for BDPR, it's around 300. And this is just first, second, third years. Obviously first years, second year is taking a huge chunk. But yeah, so it's what like kind of makes us in the top 2 or top 3 or whatever you want to call it, is the crew, right? What we are doing at MTTN is we're just giving them a platform to express themselves, be it our app, be it our website, or be it our Instagram page. So it is the content that is made by them which kind of goes viral or stands out per se. So I'd say it's the crew. I don't think there's anything else that differentiates us.
So Manan, let me ask you that like suppose that you have the entire power of MTTN behind you, right? A whole graphics team, a whole writing team, like a crazy amount of BDPR people. If you have all these people and you want to branch out and start something new inside MTTN, what would you go for? What would you target?
I'd probably open something like a skill development department, wherein people from in and around Manipal are ready to pay us money and kind of undergo a 7-day photography course from zero to whatever level they want to go to.
How does that make you different from Udemy?
So no, you're able to relate to the people, right? Can you relate to your Udemy instructor per se? But you can relate to that friend who's in the same block as you but is teaching you photography. It's students around you, it's the people around you. So I'd say I'd want to open something like that. And obviously it's not as crazily priced as Udemy. So that also comes into play, keeping the student landscape. So yeah, I think I'll do that.
How exactly do you scale an organization in Manipal? I know Adit also wants to know this because he's the founder of Allmity. So how do you scale something?
I think it's compounding, right? You can't expect to get 100 good people in your organization the day one you want to start, right? It will start with 3 people, you'll branch out, you'll do stuff, then more people will get interested about you. Then like I'll show you a trend, right? We got 600 applicants this year. Last year we were at what, 400, I'm assuming 400, 450 applicants. I'm hoping next year it will increase or it will be around that number. I could say that the surge in applicants this year was due to COVID and people being at home. So that would result in people wanting to do and try out more stuff. But there is the scaling part involved in, like, we as a board also took a decision that we'll take in more people this time. So scaling is a very big factor of compounding. You cannot expect to scale on day one. It is like you're building a brand over years. So we've been here around for 10 years. We do almost every event in Manipal. A key factor to our scaling is that we are not just in MIT or we are not just in 1 or 2 colleges. We are practically present in all colleges. We cover KMC's fest as rigorously as we do Tech Tatwa. So there is a lot that is involved. It is a function of compounded growth. It is not something that we've started out and it is skyrocketed. Do that things happen? Yes. Is that how we've scaled? The answer is no. So I'd say it's compounding growth, being consistent, producing consistent content. I think a lot of factors around content creation is being consistent, right? If you talk to any big YouTuber and you ask him what's the secret behind you scaling your channel to whatever X million subscribers, the first thing that comes is I am very consistent. If you talk to any big writer on Substack and you ask what's the status, what's the thing behind getting 1,000 paid subscribers that are giving you X amount of dollars in monthly revenues, like, I'm very consistent. I write thrice a day and it goes at sharp whatever time I've decided. So consistency is a big part. Like, we are generating content 25-ish days out of 30. That is no small feat. You cannot generate so much content, and that is being at home. So if we are able to maintain the same consistency being at home, which we were able to do pre-COVID, that tells a lot about how the organization functions, right? So I'd say compounded growth
Mm-hmm.
over a span of long years. Then we got in our app that helped us. Then we started covering more events. We started doing brand collaborations. We've got Red Bull. I think Adit came to us with Snapchat. So there is a lot of things that are involved. So I'd say yeah that.
I actually have a question related to this only. So let's say you are starting a new startup. Now there are two kinds of people. The first kind is the people who like a small group of people, and they only slowly grow their team. And the second kind is people who take and fire very fast. So like they'll get a lot of people, and those who don't work, they'll fire them. So what kind are you? Like, what do you prefer?
No, obviously. Uh, First off, how I view this is what is your core motivation behind starting that startup? Let's say you're solving a problem. Are you going to solve that problem for 1 year, or are you going to solve that for a long period of time? If you're in it for the long game, then you obviously need people who are going to be there from day one to day XX with you, right? So obviously, building a small team but a great team takes far more precedence in any situation than taking in people constantly firing and doing stuff like that. You build a small team, then you scale that. That is going to give you a lot bigger result as compared to taking people, firing people, taking people, firing people. So but yeah, if you're in the long game, obviously goes without saying, you have to start building a small team and then scale it slowly as your startup kind of progresses and goes ahead.
All right. So, Manan, now we are moving to one of the most fun sections of the podcast. I call it fun because I don't have to make the questions. It comes to me ready made. So now we're moving on to the viewer generated questions. And
Okay,
we have had very related to business questions over here,
nice.
which I am about to ask you. So, yeah, just give me a second while it opens. All right. My first question to you is, what is your guilty pleasure?
Uh, that's an interesting question. I'd say my guilty pleasure is probably overspending into productivity tools and stuff like that. So if I find an app on Product Hunt or a tool on Product Hunt which is fairly cool enough for me to explore, I'd pay $1, $5, $10 without thinking twice. So that's my guilty pleasure, I'd
बड़े
say.
लोग बड़े लोग यहाँ पे औकात आधे डॉलर की भी नहीं है ब्रो. All right. And next question, I feel like this was given to you by the writing department at MTTN. Which department at MTTN is OP and why is it writing?
I, I think this is the work of our writing subheads, but obviously it is not writing. We at BDPR are the best department ever. No questions
Obviously.
asked.
I'll just bring in some graphics ka banda and they'll have another opinion. But yeah, I mean that's what we all say, right? Our own department has OP.
If I had to be more cliche, I'd say MTT and OP.
Well, that is very politically correct, bro. All
Well, I
right,
am
so
the PR head for a reason.
all right, so
ये भी सही है.
this question is something which I wanted to ask you as well. Where do you see yourself in the future?
Where do I see myself?
What do you see Manan Agarwal doing 10 years down the road, something?
Okay, that's like a lot of time ahead, and no, I don't like. I'll have like a roadmap of what I want to do over the next 6 months and 1 year and 2 years. But I'd probably be running business or product at some mid stage or early stage or late stage company, depending on what I want to do at that point. But yeah, something in business and product or growth at that point in any company.
Okay, so
If
Arinjit,
if, if I get a life breaking, path breaking idea, then probably be a founder.
अरिंजय सच बताना, ये क्वेश्चन तेरा ही था ना, ताकि तू नेक्स्ट इंटरव्यू के अंदर ये यूज कर पाए.
so now wait. Aditya, यार तू चुप रहना यार. Okay, product or growth? What is your preferred role?
It's not so they're not as a like if I had to talk I not say that they're two different separate functions that are like parallel to each other. They're kind of a function of like they're kind of mixed stuff, but yeah, right now I'm leaning more towards product because I've been liking it a lot. So there are product managers who are growth PMs that function for organizational growth and stuff like that. So I'd probably be a growth PM, which would help me do both product as well as growth at the same time.
That's actually very interesting. So this whole concept of product managers, this is something very new to our generation. So could you just in like 2 to 3 sentences elaborate as to what a product manager does?
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to say that a product culture in Manipal is not that strong. It's primarily because a lot of companies don't come here for assistant product manager jobs or product internships sort of thing. So there is not enough buzz about here. But if you go in other colleges, there's a lot of buzz around product management in general. So product management as a role is fairly new to the startup ecosystem, 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years-ish. So it's not been around for long, but essentially a product manager is somebody who is at the intersection of UX, business, and tech. So if you make a Venn diagram and you have UX, you have business, and you have tech, the person who's standing in the center of these three circles is a product manager. And that is what that means is you are basically responsible for the product life cycle. So right from ideation to actually launching it and then tracking how it goes, all of it is owned by you. An interesting thing to know about product management is that even though you have a product manager in your job title, you're not managing anybody. You are just influencing your opinions on other verticals in the organizations as to why you think building something is critical for organizational success.
You don't really have to be a technical person for this, right?
No, so it depends, right? It depends on what kind of product you're managing, what kind of team you're in, and so there are technical PMs as well who function on the technical aspect. So they do a lot of talking to engineers and stuff. Then there are PMs who function more on growth and revenue, so that they don't have that kind of technical aspect to it. But I'd say you need to be passionate about tech. You need to have an interest about tech, and you should know basic tech. Like that, I think basic tech is essential. Basic data, basic analytics, and stuff like that. You should be aware of it. And if you are in a tech-based company, like let's say you are a product manager at a dev SaaS company, a dev tool SaaS company, wherein you're building dev tools like Postman, for example, then probably a product manager at Postman would need to have far more technical knowledge, because essentially what you're going to do is build products for devs. So you should understand the dev market. You should know how that works. But if you're in a consumer or a mobility focused company, you're not essentially that technical focused. I'd say. But yeah, I mean, you should know basic tech. You should have fairly enough grasp for tech concepts.
Mm-hmm. And this is actually a very interesting field, because I had no idea that this whole field of product management existed up until 2 months ago. So yeah. Are you trying to promote this whole culture of PM?
That's what I'm saying, right?
Please continue.
Yeah, I want to increase awareness in Manipal. I don't see a lot of people talking about it here. And I don't necessarily, like, if somebody comes up to me, sure, I'd be happy to explain and talk, but I don't want to, like, I don't think I have the time to, set up a PM club or stuff like that. And there are clubs in very prestigious colleges in the country that just focus on PMing, and, like how you have your clubs here. There'd probably be a PM club as well. People who are interested in product management, what do they do, what do they learn, and stuff like that. So no, I'm not actively, I don't want to actively promote it, because I don't have the bandwidth to do that. But yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to, give it ahead and, give back.
Right. So next question is not really a question. It's give one Radhika OP shout out. So Radhika OP.
No, Radhika. You've tried enough on chat for the last 6 months.
Wait, so this has been going on for a very long time.
Yeah, so at MTTN, I run this cult of mine called Manan OP. We have 30 MTTN people who have texted me that, and I maintain like a very curated sticker collection of just Manan OP stickers from all of MTTN members. So this is a play to get that back. Sorry, Radhika, you're not getting that shout out.
That is very sad, dude. So yeah, sorry to disappoint you, Radhika, but looks like you're not getting a shout out. All right, that's crazy. And what's your okay? There'll be the last question from the viewer generated section. What is your idea for a crazy night out?
My idea for a crazy night out is to stay in and read a book. Sorry if you're expecting something wild.
Which
I am
which
not
book which
that kind
books
of a person.
which books do you prefer?
A non-fiction, any day.
As in any genre
Uh,
specific
I,
in non-fiction?
Anything around business, building teams, building products, building businesses, scaling stuff, growth. Yeah, I'd
What
say
is
that.
your top
What?
two book recommendations then for anyone interested in the topic?
Oh, I'd say you should read Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's not on product business or anything, but it'll help you develop a very good insight on how you should be as a person. A book on business would probably be Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Yeah, that is a great book by the co-founder of Nike. He'll tell you how Nike was built. That, and if you're interested in the Indian scene, I was reading this book called on how Flipkart was built by Mihir Dalal, the Untold Story of Flipkart. I believe that's the name. That's a great book. So yeah, that.
Mhm. And from my personal recommendations, like I don't know if you've read this, Manan, but I really enjoyed this book. It's called 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel.
Yeah, I've read. Yeah, I've read it like 3 times now. So I read it every
And
year. Like
yeah,
it's
it's
really
one of the
fun.
best books I've read so far.
Yeah,
And
that's a great book.
I might be biased over here, but this is one book which I read almost every month.
Is it related to Elon Musk?
Oh,
I knew
Elon
it.
Musk.
I
Yeah,
knew it.
Yeah, I read this by Ashley Vance, right? Yeah, that's that.
yeah.
I've read
So
this.
this and Steve Jobs' autobiography by Walter Isaacson.
Walter
So
Isaacson, yeah.
yeah, those are two books which it's about the person's life, but they teach you a lot about business, not the technical side of it, but just how it works, how you're supposed to think.
Yeah. These are great books. Like I've been reading. I think I read all of this in 2017 or 18, I think.
Yeah. So damn. So Manan, that brings us to an end of the viewer generated section. I hope you enjoyed the
Okay,
question as much as I did.
that was fairly easy. I thought they'll ask very wild questions.
Oh yeah, they have, but I've just filtered those out.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, dude, let me just ask you that you really see a lot of scope, I would say. Indian dads love this word scope. Nahi hai. So, you really see a lot of scope in this field called product development, right?
Yeah,
Product
I do.
management, sorry.
Yeah.
So, how important do you think an MBA degree is for the same?
Oh, I am a huge proponent of the MBA degrees. So that's one of famous topics to talk about. I am a huge proponent of why you should get an MBA degree. But so my friends on Twitter disagree with me. They're like, why do you want to do an MBA and stuff? But I believe so personally. I think what an MBA gives you is access to a great network. And in a country, especially if you're building for India, getting that is not the easiest way. Is it easy to build it over Twitter? Yes. But is it more easy to go to an MBA school and build that for life, plus get that pedigree sort of thing, which is which is very prevalent in the Indian ecosystem? Yes. So I'd say an MBA is very important for the network that it gives you. There's also the brand attached to it. If you do a top tier MBA, you're part of a brand. You're part of a few elite people in the country. That also opens a lot of doors. So I don't think a lot of doors in this country, with respect to jobs and positions, are highly closed because of that MBA and elite MBA degree barrier. That that is what MBA opens up. It opens any and every door that you wanna go and explore. So yeah, I think an MBA is a really good way to do
Wow.
that, and it also, for people who've not figured out their life, it gives you an additional 2 years to be around great people and try to understand more about what you want to do.
So, do you support an MBA right after college or like job कर लो फिर किया हो MBA के लिए?
So I personally believe I am more of that. I'm more of that thought process where I believe that you should get done with education. But from whatever I've spoken to people and understood, the more if you work for a year or two, you get exposure to how teams run, how businesses are scaled, and stuff like that, and that really helps in an MBA. So I mean, it depends on the individual and what he or she really wants at that point after graduation from college. If you're entering what you want to do, if you're getting your dream job just right out of college, then yeah, probably work in your dream job. And then if you still feel the need for an MBA, go do an MBA. But if you believe that what you're getting is you're settling for less, and you believe that an MBA would help you achieve what you really want to do, then by all means go for an MBA.
Manan, one question regarding what
Yeah,
you
sure.
just said. So, what are the some of the points that you get against this opinion from others?
So points that I get against this opinion is so it's mostly from India. People in the startup ecosystem in India, they are not fan of how costly MBAs are. Number one, they also believe that you want to build. So if you build stuff that's a way more uh, experiential and hands-on learning experience than getting an MBA degree. And obviously, networking is something that you can do right off Twitter. And I do agree with that. So yeah, I mean that are some proponents. And obviously, the biggest counter is if you really want to do what you want to do, then you don't need an MBA to help you to achieve that. Which is what something which I agree with too. I mean, if you really have the determination and motivation to do something, then
You
nothing
don't
is
need an
gonna
MBA.
stop you, or you don't need an
True.
MBA for that.
So the thing is that I know I want to do something in the startup ecosystem, but I don't know what. So I believe that like maybe an MBA, maybe something else. I don't know. But yeah, that's cool. So very interesting point you raised, Manan, which I want to explore a little more. You mentioned that it's very easy to make a connection of Twitter, a network of Twitter. Could you elaborate on that whole stance?
Yeah, so I am a huge fan of Twitter. If I whichever fresher joins my department at MTTN, the first thing I tell is you should join Twitter. I got my last internship off Twitter, so I am a very big fan of Twitter. Yeah, I mean, if you can find enough people on Twitter to interact with, you can. People are very receptive. They want to help you out. If you DM them on Twitter and have specific asks, they'll be more than happy to help you out. If you're constantly interacting with them, engaging with them, if they put up some tweet, you're kind of giving your viewpoint over and over. Like over time you'll build that compounding will come into play, and you'll build that network. And once you get tap into that network, the potential is just not like
Or
there's no limit to the potential. You can
so
raise your angel money, your seed money, you can get a job, you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah,
right
so
off
yeah.
Twitter, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, the right of Twitter, dude. I got my internship right of Twitter, so I'd say Twitter is the best.
So
I
yeah, Adit.
actually I had a very controversial kind of question. What do you think about Twitter versus LinkedIn? Like, which one do you prefer more? From your
How's it
answers, I think you'll
confidential, dude? वो तो normal question है यार पूछ ले.
not confidential. Sorry, controversial.
Oh,
Did I say confidential?
yeah, yeah. I
No,
don't know
no.
what you said. Yeah, please.
I don't know. Like
So
LinkedIn followers might say LinkedIn.
no, so it's not a zero sum game per se. You can be on both platforms and do so. On Twitter you can build a great network and you can get to people and you can talk to great, amazing people. On LinkedIn you can have your content getting distributed far more in a way more better way. So if you want to be a content guy and you want to distribute content, LinkedIn is a better place than Twitter. Well, I do know a lot of people on Twitter who do it way better than LinkedIn, but especially to people in college, I'd say be active on both platforms. There's no like you're still just starting out, you're building your brand, you're trying to figure out both platforms have their own pros and cons. Personally, I'd prefer Twitter, but that's because I've been there for 2 years. I have a decent 600 people following me, and I know a lot of people in the ecosystem via Twitter. So I'd say yeah, I'm leaning towards Twitter, but at that same time, I would not say that you should ignore LinkedIn. Yeah, probably the content on LinkedIn has kind of not been the best in the past few months, but recruiters will still go to LinkedIn and find out what you've done and where you've worked out. So worked at. So you should have a fairly active LinkedIn profile. Yeah, but if you want to interact with cool people, you want to hang out with the smart kids, sort of thing, then yeah, Twitter is the place to be.
Uh, so in that whole picture you painted with like a crazy network and like 600 followers and everything. So for someone like me, for let's say a fresher or someone like me who has like 30 followers on Twitter and started 3 months ago, what is step zero to building that network? Where do you start?
Yeah, so first you figure out what you why have you joined Twitter? Have you joined Twitter to rant about your political opinions? Do you want to rant about college? Do you want to talk about the cricket match that happened?
I want to
Or
do
do you
what
want
you're
to
doing.
you want to do what I'm doing? So what I did was I followed interesting people on Twitter. I kind of interacted with them. I interacted with their tweets. I replied to them. So it is not that it's not an overnight thing, right? I joined Twitter, like I started doing all of this in September, November of 2018. It's 2021, so it has taken time, right? It is not something that I've done overnight. So I'd say you follow interesting people, interact with them, you read what they're putting. Let's say you follow an interesting person and you really like what they put out in their Substack. You talk to them, like you say, I really like this. I want to know your views on this, on what you've written and stuff like that. So you kind of engage with a lot of people in the ecosystem on Twitter, and that's how you'll gradually build. You be the replies guy. If somebody's looking for something, you kind of be resourceful. Stuff like that helps, right? Yeah, you would have to invest time to get value. If you just casually scroll for like 5 minutes a day, I don't think there's anything that you can do much. But yeah, I mean, you have to be the replies guy. You kind of follow people, engage with their content, talk to them, cold DM them, asking, I would want to know this thing from you. Why did you do that, and why did you not do this? So stuff like that would help you, compound over a longer period of time, I'd say.
All right. And that's very interesting how you got a first internship by Twitter. I got mine because I was bored after 12th grade, and the thing is, I cannot sit at home and do Netflix full day. मेरे को irritation होता है. So I literally went to, there's an office building next to my house. I went over there, एक floor पे गया, IoT का startup था. I just started going around companies. I'm like, are you looking for an intern? Are you looking for an intern? I was not
Yeah, so
expecting a paid internship. So in the end, I just walked into a company. They're like, yeah, we're looking for interns, but college students. I'm like, I'm going to college. So they're like, ठीक है आ जाओ देखते हैं ट्रेनिंग के में कैसा होता है. So
yeah, so
yeah,
that's one way. Like you cold visiting people, then there's cold emails, and then there's Twitter DMs. I'm a huge fan of cold emails. I just taught people at MTTN how to
oh
write cold
really?
emails. So I'd say cold emails work a lot. You should know what you have to write, and once you write what you know, like what you should write, then yeah, cold emails is a great way to get an internship. I saw this listing of a PM intern at Bounce. I on Twitter. Then I asked somebody who I knew who knew the person who put out the listing. Then I got referred, and that's how it started. But yeah, I mean, you really have to put an effort, whatever platform or whatever you want
And
to do for.
what were the prerequisites for your PM internship?
No prerequisites per se. They were looking for somebody who knew basic SQL, basic Excel, not basic, but yeah. And so I'd done a gig before that as well, and I'd done fairly good stuff over there. So that helped. Then there was a call, an intro call. Then there was an assignment that I wrote. The assignment kind of played a huge part, I'd say, because I really liked what I did with the assignment, and then it was another call and I got it. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. And like off the record again, was it a paid internship?
Yeah, obviously, dude, Bounce is valued at
बड़े
$500
लो,
million.
बड़े लो. Nice, nice. That's crazy, man. And dude, Manan, before we move on to the last question in this podcast segment, I just have one question to ask you. A really, really light question. So, apart from all your business and product management, what is your most fun memory from Manipal days?
Most fun memory. So recently, I did this workshop for people in MTTN on how to get that job and stuff like that, and the feedback that I got was too good. So that would probably count as the most fun memory I've had, because I like the last week I had built the deck for it, and then I did that webinar kind of thing, and the feedback was great. So I'd say that counts as a really good fun memory per se.
But like apart from work, I mean, all of us don't drink over here, so we can't talk about that. So apart from work, just like chilling with friends, what is the most craziest thing
Oh,
you've done in Manipal?
craziest thing I've done in Manipal. You're asking the wrong person,
Dude,
because if you
see,
ask my friends, they'll be like, "Kya pooch rahe ho isko?" Uh, I really have to think hard for this. I'm not even kidding.
the thing is, I
Maybe
don't
just like
blame you,
a
dude. I spent most of
uh,
my first, I don't blame you. I spent most of my first year in EDU building doing Parikshit ka kaam, and most of my second year sitting at home. So I don't really have a lot of memories as well.
I have
one maybe
spent like
something
2 years
like
there, but
uh, yeah.
yeah.
I was saying maybe something like a simple beach trip with
Yeah,
your friends.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to understand what's my most fun memory. I'd probably say a house party that we just had in December was a fun party where the entire MTTN board was there. So, yeah, That was a fun memory.
Corona sus.
No, we were social distancing. There's not a lot of us. So
Sure. वो मेरे को पता, मैं देख रहा था कितना social distancing हो रहा है Instagram पर. That's mad, but oh damn. Yeah, and I don't blame you, dude. Not gonna lie, I missed the entirety of Rebels and Pro Show because I was working, and I regret that so hard right now.
yeah. So what was I doing during fest? So yeah, I was at fun memory. A fun memory at Revels is the MTTN base. So what we do at MTTN is we make the library group study hall our base, and all photographers are there. They go down, click photos, they come up, they process it. All content for the fest is generated at that entire room behind the group study hall. Like once you go inside, there's that big room, right? So over there, the most fun memory is I am really fond of clicking photos, but I don't know how to click them well. So I would just take I would take our head of photography's DSLR and just walk out with the MTTN badge in fest and start clicking candids of people. And naturally, because they'd see that I am an MTTN badge and I have a DSLR in my hand, people would start posing. And and the reality was that nobody had the bandwidth to edit the photos that I take.
Scam 1992.
So I was just I will so many people would pose. I'd click 100, 150, 200 photos. And so day one I used to do that, and every day our album goes up. So next day when I used to go back again, the same people would be like, hey, I didn't see my photo that you clicked yesterday. So then I had to be like, oh yeah, that's under processing.
Yeah, were you doing this in Tech Taswa 2019 as well?
Yeah.
I never got my photos, man. I don't know who took them.
Yeah, so I was doing this in Tech Tattwa 2019. I did that in Revels 2020 as well. So yeah, I just take a photographer's camera and just walk around, acting as a pro photographer. So yeah,
Tattwa 2020 mein to everybody was a pro photographer. You had to screenshot your screen. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. And dude, Manan, not gonna lie, this has been one of the most insightful podcasts I've been a part of. Like, the amount of knowledge you have is crazy. Adit, you would agree with me, right?
Agreed, 100%.
100%. So, dude, let me ask you that, Kalko, if a junior comes up to you for advice, what is the only one piece of advice which you would be willing to pass on to one of the freshers right now in college or second year as well? हम लोग का भी उतना time नहीं आया है. What is the one piece of advice you would pass on to your junior?
College is a bubble. You need to break out of this entire ecosystem and explore things that are happening out there, because it might seem that your threshold for doing awesome stuff is the people around you, but that is not where the bar is. The bar is far, far higher than that. So break out of this ecosystem as early as you can and try to explore things outside Manipal. That's the only way you'll understand that there's way more way more that's happening in the country with people your age that you are not even aware of. So that
I feel like the lives of Manipal students are too tangled inside कि मैं board member बन गया, ये mancom है अगर.
Yeah.
There's a whole world outside which people just neglect.
Yeah, so I think that's very important, and I always talk about how these board positions are very, very irrelevant, and nobody cares, because if I'm a recruiter, there are 150 clubs in this college, and every club will have 10 board members. So there is not anything that you're doing which is differentiating you from the crowd, right? So, and it's not that tough to be a board member. Honestly, you work hard enough, you'll get that position. It's not rocket science. So it is not that relevant. And probably 1 or 2 years after you start working, nobody's even gonna ask what happened in college clubs. So yeah, I mean that is, please don't make your life's goal to become a board member at your club as the most thing that you're optimizing for.
Yeah,
that is a very low bar. That's it. Yeah.
Exactly, 100% agreed. And this is something which I realized a little later in first year. So I'm really happy that if anybody can just listen to this right now and take it seriously, that will be very important for you. And that is where I've corrected myself in my second year as well, where I've started venturing outside the college. And that has been very fruitful. So yeah, Manan, thank you very much for coming on the Allmity Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was fun. I always like talking to juniors and giving away gyan for free. So I do that a lot at MTTN also. I run this WhatsApp group with people where I share interesting stuff. So yeah, I mean, I love talking to juniors, giving back, sharing what has helped me till now. So yeah,
It's
it's
basically
great
like
fun.
this dude, his name is Swapnil or something. He started a group where he just gives placement advice.
Uh,
Oh wow, that's nice. Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that, but I don't have placement advice.
Thank you very much, Manan, for all your insight. If you could very quickly just say, just tell everyone to please like, comment, share, and subscribe because I feel
Yeah,
cool in saying that.
please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Allmity podcast. These people have been doing a great job. Nobody's doing it till now who's running a podcast. So yeah, great stuff. You'd
All right.
enjoy.